I'm going to give a quick explanation here about a performance management chart, which is another way that you can measure your training metrics during the off-season. The performance management chart works best with endurance sports because there's less unpredictable movement, sports like running and cycling. But if your sport does have a lot of unpredictable movement, listen up, it's still a good way to explain what happens to your performance over a long training cycle. So I've drawn on the chart here on the bottom axis weeks 1 to 12, and on the vertical axis 3 things that the chart measures. It actually measures more than that, but there's only 3 things I'm going to talk about today, which is fitness, fatigue, and form. Let's talk about fitness. Training load, let's use the green pen, right? So as you train, your fitness goes up as long as you're getting enough training load. Every now and then you might have a bigger week, right? So your training load goes up, so does the fitness. Bigger week, training load goes up, so does the fitness. Your fitness might take this type of path. Let's talk about fatigue, let's use the red pen, all right? As your fitness goes up, so does your fatigue. And if you're not managing the load properly, it can get out of control. Let me demonstrate for you. So as you see, it's a normal trajectory, then there's a steep because there's a bigger week, normal trajectory, and then another bigger week. So what happens here is your fatigue goes up and up and up at a slightly steeper trajectory. When it hits that big week, it'll spike. Then go up again, hits another big week, and it'll spike again. All right, now if your fatigue gets too high, you get ill or injured. So it's important that you're managing the load properly. The third metric we're going to talk about is form. Blue pen for this. Now form mirrors fatigue pretty much exactly. So as your training load goes up, your fatigue goes up really high. Your form, which is actually how you're feeling, comes down. So you could be here in great shape, right? In the shape of your life, really fit, really strong. But your fatigue is so high that it masks any fitness gains that you've made because your form is right down here. So what an amateur would do in this situation is think, fuck, I thought I was training really hard. All my metrics are down. My performance is really bad. I'm dragging myself to the gym. I feel like shit. I need to train harder. And they up the volume. The graph goes completely out of control. Like I said, if the fatigue gets too high, you get ill or injured. Itis has come for you, tendonitis, bursitis, those type of things, or even something bigger than that. But what a professional would do is bring in a taper. Okay, so you're doing enough fitness to maintain that high fitness level you have. As you maintain and lower the volume, it allows your fatigue to come down and allows your form to come up. And if all these things line up, in line with your competition day, that is what we call peaking. But there's more to it. If you didn't do enough work to maintain that fitness level, your fitness level would drop. Fatigue would come down too low, form would go up too high, and you've actually lost some of the work capacity you put in earlier in that off season. Now this is looking like a bit of a mess, but I hope it made sense to you as we went along. I'm gonna rub this out now and draw how I would usually like to plan a 12-week training program. Week 1 and 12, again, your competition day or season is over here. I like to do a lot of the work early and then have a really long taper. I like to use the analogy of like a plane taking off. Both jets off the runway, get as high as possible, as soon as possible, and then maintain height. Getting the fitness up early means you've got more time to deal with problems as they come up, like injuries are always going to be a part of sport, but also here, closer to the season, you're going to need to be developing the skill level of whatever sport it is you do. And if you're trying to develop skill and strength and fitness at the same time, it can be a lot. But don't mistake the maintenance work for easy work. You still have to do enough to maintain that high fitness level, you know. So maybe 3 workouts out of the 5 will be hard, rather than 5 workouts out of the 5. It does require a lot of discipline not to train right up to the competition day because you feel like everyone else is training and you're going to get left behind. But you need to trust the process, trust the system. Hopefully you have a good coach and they can explain to you this type of thing and it all makes sense. But like I said before, amateurs can get this wrong and they do too much work too close to the competition day and not enough early, so it looks like that coming up to the competition day. Like I said before, if you ramp up the training, the fatigue ramps up, the form drops, and you feel like hell going into your season or competition day. There's more to a performance management chart than I've just described. Personally, I don't use them training my athletes because most of my athletes have sports with a lot of unpredictable movement, but still this is a really good way to explain what happens over a long training cycle. The app Training Peaks offers a performance management chart, not on the free version, no. If you sign up for a trial, you'll get it free and you can see the chart and see how it develops. It's quite interesting actually, but then you have to pay for it from then on. Thanks for listening. Any questions, please fire them at me in the comments.